Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the June 21st, 2023 meeting of the Daytona Beach City Commission. We're delighted to have each of you with us tonight. Madam Clerk, may we please have a roll call?
Commissioner Cantu. Here. Commissioner Henry. Here. Commissioner Reed.
Here.
Commissioner Paris.
Here.
Commissioner Strickland.
Here.
Commissioner May. Here. Mayor Derek L. Henry.
Here.
Okay. We're going to move on to item number 4, which is approval of the minutes of the May 17, 2023 City Commission meeting.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Paris and a second from Commissioner Strickland. Do we have any questions or corrections? All right, all those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those in opposition, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. This time, we will have our agenda approval. If there are any changes, our city manager will address them.
Yes, Honorable Mayor, Commissioners, we would like to add addendum item 8S, approval of purchase contracts for properties located at 562 and 558 West ISB to the consent agenda. Item number 9A, Dickerson Center sign plan, amend sign plan to say Dr. James E. Huger Senior Park. Add addendum item 9F, First Amendment to the Buc-ee's PDG rezoning to the public hearings, and add addendum item 9G, the Third Amendment to the Clyde Morris Boulevard Industrial PD to the public hearings. That concludes the changes.
I move to accept the agenda with the said changes.
We'll take a motion from Commissioner Reed and a second from Commissioner May. Do we have any questions or discussion? All right, hearing all,
I just want to know, how does it work? Because I voted no on those items, so it's on a consent agenda. I don't want to vote yes, and then.
We'll denote those two items.
okay. Is that okay?
They'll be
We'll
denoted
just
as two
denote
items.
that,
Okay.
that she
Well,
proposed.
you vote on the consent agenda as a slate, so it's either a yes or a no vote. If you have that issue, I would move them off consent.
We will remove the two items off of the consent agenda,
Okay.
and that will be item 8S for 562 and 558 West International Speedway Boulevard.
And then the other
And then the,
210.
we didn't add that on there.
Yeah, that was already on there.
Got it as 10H?
And we're going to remove one other, she's trying to locate it off of the consent agenda.
Sorry, folks.
We remove those for one no vote?
80 is
Yes,
the.
she doesn't want to approve the entire consent agenda for the three items that she voted no. So we will move those and have a separate vote after that. We have two properties, then the one on each side.
210?
It's 80 and 8S.
Yeah. So there'll be 10H and 10I?
Well, we can take them immediately after the
After,
consent
okay,
and
sure.
vote on
All
them
right.
separately.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right, so, do I have a?
Okay, so we had a motion
Need a
and a
motion to
second.
approve as
The agenda.
as amended, the agenda.
I amend my motion.
Okay. And Commissioner May, would you amend your second?
Okay. I have a motion and a second to the amended motion. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
She will add the one.
Okay.
We're going to do the presentation and then, yeah. Okay, so we're going to move on to item number 6, which is our presentation. Item 6A is the Public Works Department June 2023 Beautification Award winners. A member of the Beautification Tree Advisory Board to present.
Mayor Henry, members of the City Commission, and Mr. Fiecher. My name is Jenny Nazak, 501 Harvey Avenue, Zone 3 member. The Beautification Tree Advisory Board has selected Ronel and Marlene Falcon, 155 South Wild Olive Avenue, as the Residential Beautification Award winner for the month of June 2023. Mr. and Mrs. Falcon are unable to be here tonight to accept their award, but they're excited about the recognition. The Public Works Grounds Maintenance Division will ensure that they receive their award along with the Beautification Award signage being placed in their yard for 30 days. The types of trees, shrubs, and plants used for beautification include red hibiscus, tomato plants, and numerous other vegetables, palm trees, golden dewdrop, banana tree, and numerous other types of fruit trees, ficus, sea grape, lantana, and very majestic live oak tree. And then you have to, they'll get their award. They're in Canada,
Okay.
so they'll have to. But they're very excited about the recognition.
Good deal.
And then commercial. All right, Mayor Henry, members of the City Commission, and Mr. Fiecher. The Beautification Tree Advisory Board has selected Salon 230, Spa Above Hatfield's Hideaway, 116 Magnolia Avenue, Daytona Beach, as the Commercial Beautification Award winner for the month of June 2023. Salon 230 Spa Above Hatfield's Hideaway has been in business in the Daytona area for 34 years. The building at 116 Magnolia Avenue was built in 1918 and was formerly a teacher's residence and then a restaurant before Salon 230 Spa Above Hatfield's Hideaway put their roots down. The most recent renovation was just this year, adding a patio outside for Hatfield's Hideaway. The types of trees, shrubs, and plants used for beautification include wisteria, snake plants, variegated Schefflera arboricola, lantana, dianthus, ficus, wax plant, silver ponyfoot, and yucca. Mayor Derek Henry will be presenting the award.
Well, I recently had the pleasure of coming and visiting your beautiful establishment that you have, how shall I say it? Every nook and cranny of that. Can you all show the location again, if you could go back? We want people to know where she's located. And the outside front of the building. At any rate, it reminds me of my mother-in-law's home in that there is no part of it that doesn't express her personality and her love for her residents. And there's no part of it that doesn't express your, and is this your daughter?
Yes.
And you all's attention to detail, because clearly you are partners. And I just love what you've done with the space. And I think I speak for all of us. If you haven't been, just visit. And then you talk about mixed use and extending your business to be able to do different things and just making the best use of your space. So it goes without stating, but certificate of achievement, may it be known that this certificate has been presented to Salon 230 Spa Above Hatfield's Hideaway. What a beautiful name. Relatives?
Or Hatfield.
Hatfields. That's what I knew. They're Hatfields. I remember the story, and what a story. For distinguished achievement in commercial beautification, City of Daytona Beach, Florida, signed by myself, Derek L. Henry, and Ms. Juanita May, who is your commissioner. With great gratitude, the City of Daytona Beach appreciates you all.
Thank you very much.
Let's turn towards him and write down.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank
Great job.
you. Thank you so
You're welcome.
much, everyone.
Okay, we're going to move on to item number 7, which is citizen comments. During this time, citizens have the opportunity to address the City Commission on any item on the consent agenda. And I have one speaker, Mr. Frederick Brown. What is that?
Yeah, before you start the timer, just a point of clarification on consent agenda O, is that on, off, separate item? What
It'll
do we-
be a separate item taken after the consent.
Okay, so do I have to speak on that on a separate thing? Because that was one of the items I checked. All right, thank you. All right, Frederick Brown, 1508 Crescent Ridge. I will talk about O, I guess, later. I guess I have to fill out a whole nother form. All right, so let's talk about item 8K on the consent agenda. Now, this has been something, let's see, JK. That's been in the works for, as we know, over a year. It's well needed. Anybody with disabilities needs access. I'm all for that. It's 226 square feet, the 2 bathrooms being remodeled. We're reducing from 4 fixtures to 2. We're going from men and women to unisex now. $125,000 to remodel 226 square feet? I just don't get it. One contract bid by the same contractor that's been working on the Dickerson Center for forever, and we still don't have an opening date for that. There's something wrong when the city only gets one bidder on a contract like this, and we pay such a high rate. The initial bid of being $99,000 something to modify 2 bathrooms down here. I just don't understand it. It's insane. This is my I know it's OPM to everybody else, but this is my tax dollars. This is the citizens of Daytona's tax dollars. I can't even get a fence and plants down at the Bridgeport Heights Park. The ones that were originally there were tore down by Mr. Ritchie, okay, and the current residents. I can't even get them replaced. And that property, we spent $5,200 on 2 surveys, both of which the survey never even found the marker. I don't get it. There's something going on here, and I just don't get it. You know, we elect you people to wisely spend our funds. This, to me, is crazy. The other item I wanted to talk about is item M, which is the grant for the park. Again, I can't get a fence or some plants down at Bridgeport Heights. We sat and let the Richies destroy it and illegally pave it with no permit. But then you're going to, I'm all for getting the grant, don't get me wrong. But this property is so close to the water's edge and flooding. We've already seen when it's done the damage that's down there. I've been down there with Commissioner Strickland down there filling sandbags as I watched the water come across the parking lot. And you're going to put all of this children's playground. The other major problem that's wrong here is this is the Sunshine State. Skin cancer is prevalent, and it's not set to one race. I've had it I don't know how many times. There's not a bit of shade in the plan. I don't understand that. Would you put your kids out there to cook in the hot sun where a potential flood zone is? Thank you.
Okay. Our next speaker is Marjorie Johnson, and on deck is Rosanna, is it Sakaya? Okay.
Marjorie Johnson. I'm also here to speak about this project, 8K. I am not happy about the fact that you're not getting other estimates to look at this project, and I'm not happy with the price. I think this is high, very, very high, and you need to be prudent about taxpayers' dollars. And we do want you to get more estimates. The people that you selected to do this job are the same people that's been working on the Dickerson Center. It's taken them a long time. They're dragging their feet. I went to the meeting of the other day, Keith Willis meeting, and I asked the question, when is that Dickerson Center going to be finished? Why are you using this one contractor when you took all that time to fix the Dickerson Center? I think it's a disgrace. Whenever I get any work done on my house, I get several estimates. And I've been living in my house for 53 years paying taxes to this city. And I have never, ever got one estimate and used the same person that's dragging. And I asked at the meeting. So they said, oh, it'll be next month sometime, July. And why is it taking them so long? And why aren't we getting other estimates. And I have a problem too with unisex bathrooms. I don't think that we should have that as part of it. In the future, I would like for you to get more estimates and cover why are you using this same person? Is somebody getting kickbacks? We need to look at other contractors, and we need to get different estimates and find out what we're gonna get for our money. And I agree with everything that the last speaker said. We need you to do your job and be more prudent of our taxpayers' dollars. And I would like to say tonight, I went in that bathroom tonight, and there's 3 bathrooms in there now, and we're getting less bathrooms because they have to have more space for the wheelchairs. And so now we're getting less for our money because they have 2 and then they have the other one back there. And I am not for you people sitting here using the same contractors. I want you to get more estimates so we can see what we're getting for our money. Make it happen. Look out for our taxpayers' dollars.
Okay. Our next speaker is Roseanne Scotcha, and on deck is John Nicholson.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and all the commissioners here this evening. I'd also like to speak on 8K, and I just would like to agree with the previous 2 speakers. I'd like to just ask one simple question. I'm sure all the people here, either private citizen or a business owner, when you have a job or anything that you need to do, I totally believe that you do get more than one proposal. I mean, that's common sense. So I do agree that we need to get, this renovation done, but we only have one bid. I think that is totally unacceptable. And again, common sense, I believe everyone in this room, private owner, business person, when they get a job, they need a job done, they get minimum 3 proposals. So that's it. Thank you for your attention.
And our final speaker on the consent agenda is John Nicholson.
John Nicholson, 413 North Granbury Avenue. Not to beat a dead horse. Again, if I recall correctly, it was at 79,000 a couple of months ago for the renovation, and I thought 79,000 was high. I don't know what's being done. I do understand that things have changed. I don't understand transgender, transsexual, the whole 9 yards, and who gets to use what bathroom. This solves that problem for us. So if it's going to cost a little more to solve it, it's better for us in the long run. So if you need to spend it, spend it. If you don't, don't. And sometimes you don't get 3 bids. You put it out and nobody responds. We have that with the Corbin building. Nobody responded. So what do you do when nobody responds? Secondly, DNA on O. About 10, 12 years ago, Chitwood recommended that we do DNA in the city. He was sending it out somewhere. I don't know where he was sending it to, but it takes like 2-3 weeks. There's all kinds of problems. It costs. There was an amount to bring it here. He could use it for our city, and also our neighboring cities would ask us to do the DNA, and we'll make a profit. Not only could they get it cheaper, but faster. So it was a smart idea then. It's a smart idea now. If it's a possibility of getting enough equipment, do we have enough to be able to do it for our neighbors as well? Holly Hill, South Daytona. If we can do that, we'll not only benefit them, but also benefit our bottom line as well. Thank you.
Okay. That was my final speaker for the consent agenda as it was amended.
Did you need?
Yeah, I'm reading the backup on that, and it looks like we did advertise, and only one responded. Is that on? Can you hear me? Okay, it looks like we did
You want to?
advertised, and only one responsive bid, correct? Okay, I just wanted to make sure that's the reason we only have one estimate. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, well, we kind of, all right. Do we have any other speakers? Is that it?
That was it.
Any other comments or questions? Okay. All right, we have a motion and a second.
I do not yet.
Do I have a motion and a second for the
For
consent?
to approve the consent agenda as amended.
So moved.
All right, we have a motion and a second. No additional questions or comments. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and move into the two items that we pulled from the consent agenda. Item 8O is a resolution approving the purchase of real property located at 210 North Peninsula Drive from Calvin Global Ministries Inc. for the estimated purchase price of $825,000 plus brokerage fees in the amount of $24,750 and closing costs an estimated amount of $10,000, approving the commercial contract, authorizing the city manager to execute the documents and take such actions as may be necessary to implement the contract, and accept title of the property, and further authorizing the city manager to terminate the contract if in the best interest of the city, and providing an effective date.
So moved.
We have a motion from Commissioner Reed and a second from Commissioner May. Do we have any questions or comments?
Do I have any members of the public that want to speak on 8O?
Come on, Mr. Brown.
Might as well stay up here. Getting out that vote.
Well, you can fill it
Yeah,
out afterwards, yeah.
You can fill it out after.
Yeah.
You still have to fill it out.
Okay, Frederick Brown, 1508 Crescent Ridge. As stated before by a previous speaker, the city really shouldn't be in the real estate business. If it's in the real estate business of public parks, public buildings, that's fine. And I agree with John, there's opportunities out there. We sat there and watched the property from the original Jewish synagogue just go to an out-of-state heavy-duty investor company. So, you know, things like that happen, especially when the mayor and I walked, and he says, where can we get extra parks? Well, that would have been a good one. Now it's in the hands of a multinational global corporation to do what they will. They have bigger lawyers than we do. Anyway, this property here, which unfortunately had a unresolved fire just out of the blue, there's a lot going on there that I don't understand. I've looked at the valuation of the property. According to the official records, it's 45,000 square feet. Great if they want to put a building up. Why is the city getting involved there? Okay, you're involved because right now it's zoned as church. So you got to be able to rezone that. So yeah, you have control on it. You have control on what kind of structure goes there. Why do we need to take taxpayers' dollars and get invested in it when it's not for taxpayers? Now, I'm all in favor of affordable housing, but affordable housing in that particular area isn't going to be affordable and be productive at that price. There's just no two ways about it. There's plenty of opportunities for do things with affordable housing, and with the amount of money that you're getting involved in here. And then sadly, just a few weeks ago, you gave away land at dirt cheap prices to benefit a REIT, Real Estate Investment Trust. An out of town guy from South Florida is going to be making a killing there. And we gave it away. I questioned it then, and I still question it. So we're buying real estate at top prices and selling it low. You don't stay in business long for that. And I realize, again, it's OPM. But we vote for you people because you're taking care of, allegedly, taking care of our money. To me, I think this is, you know, it was stated earlier, it's the wrong move to make for what the project is supposed to be. You have control on that project. Let the commercial side take the risk, make the investment, get the job done, because you have the control over how this is done from there. Because again, first of all, it has to be rezoned. So please understand that. And as far as the previous comment that was made about, yeah, we advertised, we got one bid, we're done. There's something wrong when you only get one bid on things. And if you're going to buy this kind of property with this kind of our money, and you're going to get one bid on that, that's not good either. So what that tells me is there's something wrong with the way you advertise, the way you're going to go get contract. There's something wrong here, and we need to fix that because it's our money. Thank you.
And ma'am, did you want to, Miss Marjorie? Did you want to speak on this item as well? Okay, come on up. And if you can just fill out a form afterwards.
I did, but
Okay.
whatever. Okay, that's fine. Again, good evening, everyone, and I'd like to talk on 8.0. Again, I agree with the previous speaker that the city or any entity, any government agency should be in the real estate business. I have been a realtor and a private investor and a developer for over 30 years. And I tell you that the free market should dictate what goes on. So, I mean, we should take an example of the Corbin building that was purchased last year for, I believe, over $1.3 million. Okay, so now how does that working? Have we got any developers, rushing to develop this property? I feel the same thing is going to happen with the property that you guys want to, that the city wants to purchase at this time. So, and another thing, I read the contract and the agenda. I'm just curious why the buyer is paying the commission. It's usually the seller that pays the commission, the brokerage fee. So that too, to me, is a little bit unethical or not correct. So, you guys, if you are going to proceed with this sale, I think you should negotiate that as well. And I agree also, one more comment and I'll let it go, is that, all right, if you put it out in the paper and ask for bids and nobody's responding, I think it should be someone who is delegated to call other contractors. If you don't go in one way, go out the other way. Anyway, thank you for your attention, and I hope you take these comments in consideration.
What was the address? What was your address?
Can you stop?
You didn't state your
Calm
address at the beginning.
3046 South Peninsula Drive, Daytona Beach.
Thank you.
Is that the Shores or Daytona Beach? Oh, you moved to Daytona?
Okay. Go ahead, John.
John Nicholson, 413 North Grandview Avenue. I had this originally on my consent agenda. First of all, if I'm not incorrect, I think the original price was $875. So we're purchasing it with these additions at less than asking price. So we got a deal on it. Secondly, it is in a CRA zone, which people seem to forget. The whole concept of a CRA zone is to purchase, acquire property, consolidate, and put it out for redevelopment. This is exactly what we're doing here, which is exactly what we did, or we are doing, on ISB. We're accumulating property for development. Mm-hmm. This is for redevelopment. Some of you may not realize that when I moved here, none of those buildings, except for the old Holiday Inn and the Plaza, were in front of me. All of that was new from CRA funds, the old Marriott, if you will recall the name. And it was not until George got the right to an RFP for the 2 blocks north of the vacant lot that's there now. Once he bought or got control of those properties, the what was it called with the red flag thing that replaced Marriott? The hotel that was there. Adams Mark. Immediately says, I'll buy 3/4 of your block. I need to expand my hotel. He took that money and built immediately the 1 unit. He was not even a third of the way through when somebody came in and said, I'll buy the rest of your units. He took that money and turned it into Wyndham. He went in the ground and somebody said, I'll buy the whole thing. He took that money and turned around and built the Ocean Walk Shops. All of that from CRA money. All of that because we accumulated the property from eminent domain. Had we not done that, those buildings were not there. We would not be getting $5 or $6 million into the CRA. The whole idea is to renovate, to change. You saw the diagrams of what they anticipate it's going to look like on ISB. It's going to change. It's going to look differently. It absolutely looks, the boardwalk looks totally different from what it was 40 years ago. This is the right thing to do, is to buy this property and other properties strategically to get them redeveloped. Because when you accumulate property, and we have like 7 properties we've accumulated north and south of Main Street. When we put those out to RFP, they will be developed. We're just sitting on them because Jim didn't want to develop Beachside. I don't think that's the same thing with Mr. Fiecher. We need to develop. Thank you.
I don't think I have any more speakers on the 8-0 item.
All right, we have a motion for 8-0
Mhm.
and a second. Do we have any additional questions or comments? No more. Okay, all those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-1.
Okay. And we're going to take item 8S, which is a resolution approving the purchase of real properties located at 562 and 558 West International Speedway Boulevard for a purchase price of $600,000 and $348,500 respectively, with estimated transaction costs up to $51,500 for both parcels, approving the commercial contracts, authorizing city manager to execute documents and take such actions as may be necessary to implement the contracts and accept titles to the parcels and providing an effective date.
So moved.
We have a motion from Commissioner Reed and a second from Commissioner May.
And does any member of the public want to speak on this item, 8S?
All right, any comments from the commission? All right, hearing none. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those who are opposed, same sign.
No.
Motion carries 6-1.
Okay. Okay, so we're going to move on to item number 9, which is our public hearings. Item 9A is Growth Management and Planning Department, Public Works Department, Public Use Permit for Dickerson Center Sign Plan. It's a resolution public hearing. A resolution approving a public semi-use permit for a sign plan of the Dickerson Recreation Complex located at 308 and 400 South Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, repealing all resolutions in conflict herewith and providing an effective date.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner May and a second from Commissioner Paris. Do we have any questions? All right.
And I have no speakers
No
on this item.
speakers.
Mr.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to clarify one thing and ask that the party made the motion and seconded, agree to the amendment. I'd like us to include in this resolution an amendment to Resolution 82-217, which originally named the Huger Park part of the property its current name. It's really just a record-keeping thing. If we can cite in the title that we're also amending the naming policy, we'll have a good historical record of why we're now moving it to this name. So the request would be to include in the motion an amendment to the to Resolution 82-217, acknowledging the change in the name. It's a small change, but it'll help record keeping. Thank you.
I'd like to make the amendment that we change record to the.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
Commissioner Paris was second. Okay,
Okay.
that's as amended.
They-
Name change is to go from Thomas E. Huger Park to Dr. Thomas E. Huger Senior
Senior
Park.
Park.
Thank you. Tongue twister for me. The family had requested that change, and we'd like to take that opportunity if it's your pleasure while we're making the new signage. Thank you.
Mhm. All right, we have a motion, we have a second,
And I have no other
and no speakers. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those who are opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
Okay. Going to move on to item 9B. It's a Growth Management and Planning Department, Tomoka Town Center, Large Scale Comprehensive Plan Text Amendment. This is an ordinance on second reading, public hearing. An ordinance adopting large-scale comprehensive plan amendment in accordance with Chapter 163, Part 2, Florida statutes, amending the future land use element neighborhood S development policy with respect to maximum square footage of non-residential development of approximately 69.6 plus acres of property, generally located southwest of the intersection of Cornerstone Boulevard and Williamson Boulevard, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date.
So move.
We have a motion from Commissioner Cantu and a second from Commissioner May.
And I do have Mr. Rob Merrill here on behalf of the applicant for any questions, and no other speakers.
All right, we have no questions of Mr. Merrill. All right, have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those in opposition, same sign. This motion carries 7-0.
Excuse me. We're going to move on to item 9C, which is the Growth Management and Planning Department, Third Amendment to the Tomoka Town Center Plan Development General. This is an ordinance on second reading, quasi judicial hearing. An ordinance approving the Third Amendment to Tomoka Town Center Plan District Agreement relating to development and use of approximately 118 acres of property generally located east of Interstate 95 and south of LPGA Boulevard, west of Williamson Boulevard, to increase the maximum non-residential square footage permitted within specific areas of the property, subject to conditions. Authorizing the mayor and the city clerk to execute the Second Amendment to the agreement, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Cantu and a second from Commissioner May.
And I do have Mr. Rob Merrill here on behalf of the applicant for any questions and no other speakers.
All right, considering no other speakers, does anyone have a question of Mr. Merrill? No question for Mr. Merrill. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those who oppose, same sign. This motion carries 7-0.
Okay. Moving on to item 9D, it's a Growth Management and Planning Department, 1500 Tomoka Farms Road Apartments Proportionate Fair Share Agreement. This is a resolution public hearing. A resolution approving the 1500 Tomoka Farms Road Apartment Proportionate Share Agreement between the city, THP LLC, the developer, and the County of Volusia, providing for the developer to pay a proportionate share contribution to Volusia County in relation to development of 500 multifamily residential units on a parcel of land generally located west of Tomoka Farms Road and north of First Baptist Parkway, authorizing the mayor and the city clerk to execute the agreement and providing an effective date.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Cantu and a second from Commissioner Reed.
And I have Mr. Rob Merrill here on behalf of the applicant for any questions and no other speakers.
All right, no questions of Mr. Merrill. All those who are in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those who are in opposition, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
Okay. Gonna move on to item 9E. It's the Public Works Department approval of preliminary and final plat for Mesa Nova Commerce Park. This is a resolution public hearing. A resolution approving the preliminary and final plats of the Mesa Nova Commerce Park subdivision on 14.98 plus or minus acres located south of Mason Avenue and west of Nova Road, authorizing the city manager to sign the final plat and permit recordation thereupon meeting certain conditions precedent and providing an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Was that Commissioner Henry? Motion Commissioner Henry, second Commissioner Cantu.
And I have no speakers on this item, Mr. Mayor.
All right, all those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those who are opposed, same sign. This motion carries 7-0.
Okay. Moving on to item 9F, it's the Growth Management and Planning Department, First Amendment to the Buc-ee's PD rezoning. This is an ordinance on second reading, quasi-judicial hearing. An ordinance approving the First Amendment to the Buc-ee's Plan District Agreement to allow for development of a monument sign with electric message center gas prices at 2330 Gateway North Drive, Buc-ee's gas station, including off-site advertising for the proposed Buc-ee's car wash at 1610 Technology Boulevard, authorizing the mayor and the city clerk to execute the First Amendment, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Cantu and a second from Commissioner Reed.
Okay, I don't have any
no
speakers for
speakers.
this item.
Okay, all those in favor, unless you all have questions, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. This motion carries 7-0.
Moving on to item 9G, it's a Growth Management and Planning, Third Amendment to the Clyde Morris Boulevard Industrial PD to modify allowable multifamily signage. This is an ordinance on second reading, quasi-judicial hearing. An ordinance approving the Third Amendment to Clyde Morris Boulevard Industrial Plan District Agreement to modify allowable multifamily signage, authorizing the mayor and the city clerk to execute the Third Amendment, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Henry and a second from Commissioner Cantu.
And I do have Ms. Jessica Gow here on behalf of the applicant for any questions.
No questions of Ms. Gow? All right, no questions at all. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those who are opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
We're going to move on to item number 10, which is our administrative items. Item number 10A is the City Manager's Office Economic and Strategic Opportunities Ordinance amending criteria for appointment to the Economic Development Advisory Board. This is an introduction of an ordinance on first reading. An ordinance amending Ordinance 97-90 as amended by Ordinance 13-275 to revise membership requirements of the Economic Development Advisory Boards to provide for appointment up to 3 members who are business owners or employees of businesses in the city but are not city residents, and all remaining members who are residents of the city, and provide an effective date. And are there any questions or comments from the commission on this item?
I have comments. We have a population of approximately 78,000 people here in our city, and we don't have any applicants or a shortage of applicants for these positions. For years, we've done studies, we've hired consultants, and mostly from outside of Daytona Beach to tell us what to do or what we can't do. We have taken trips to other cities to see what they have done. We have spent millions in incentives and CRA funds trying to buy prosperity, only to have brief spurts of prosperity in return. Daytona Beach has been told we have problems that more development will, could, should, and might fix for us. Only to need more development, more incentives for more hopefuls, more shoulds, more coulds, more woulds, more maybes. We're decades past the time to ignore the chatter, the negative chatter, and to be who we are, Daytona Beach, the world's most famous beach. We need to make decisions that improve our tourism, that improves our residents' quality of life, continue to beautify our city, and to make it attractive to residents and visitors. Outside influence on our boards has not and will not be the answer. Let's start by not allowing non-residents on our advisory boards to come and hear and tell us what is best for us. If we have vacancies, let them be vacant until we have tax-paying residents of our city to fill those seats. I'm against this stuff.
And I would like to say something. That board actually has 3 people from my zone. It actually might be more, but I know at least 3, 2 in Pelican Bay and 1 in LPGA. They have been short people, trying to get people. Hal, Lloyd, I think all of you have received 2 emails from 2 of the board members, because originally they had 2 residents that were business owners in Daytona but did not live in Daytona, and so according to the bylaws, they were still like that when he actually went to a business member and asked them if they would like to be, but I guess there was something in the in the ordinance. I don't know. Do you know anything about it?
I can explain that.
Okay.
So the bylaws, for some reason, purported to allow non-resident business owners to hold certain seats, but it's the ordinance that creates the board or revises the board rules that you adopt that sets that rule up, and that was never reflected in the ordinance.
Right.
That's what this ordinance would do, is to change it to be consistent with the bylaws.
Correct. And another thing is they have had meetings where they didn't even have a quorum, and they are having a hard time recruiting people on this board. I've recruited 3 of them on there. And so I think this will help them. And then we have 1, I think, board member doesn't even show up that is on there as well. So, I mean, I'm not saying this for every board, but this one is a little unique anyway. It's the economic board. So we should have business owners as well in our city on, I'm not saying the whole board, maybe 2 residents.
Well, I've personally always been in favor of sort of staggering the requirements, and we went through this maybe in 2009. There was a major, the commission at the time, I was a commissioner, discussion and debate over whether we should allow people who did not live in the city to serve on boards, or if there should be prioritized. And for me at the time, I did make a hierarchy that people who were residents were preferable. And then people who own businesses were also preferable, but people who did not have either, with the first being resident, second being business owner who wasn't a resident. And so some of I think we made some decisions that sort of reflected that at the time. And I continue to hold true to that feeling. That even, if you live here, then, and I operate that way as the mayor and get, accused by people from Ormond and Port Orange and social media and all over the place who like to come onto the mayor's webpage and tell us what we should be doing in Daytona Beach. And I'm frequently I tell them to, you can go down and talk to the Ormond Beach mayor. But your voice is not as, you don't have a business here, you don't live here, but you want to throw shade in every way that you can about our community. But that's neither here nor there. I understand that there's a challenge, but I also believe that I tend not to have any issue. Sometimes we just need to get the word out that we need people to serve. And I don't recall myself promoting this board for whatever reason. I guess it just didn't raise to my level of attention. But I really do prefer people who live here. And I guess my question would be, do they have to have a business in town?
Correct. And
If I can, Commissioner, I'm looking at the amendment. The amendment would allow up to 3 members, and this would be at your discretion, who either own or are employees of businesses located in the city, regardless of whether they're residents. So it's not necessarily true the way the ordinance in the package reads that they'd have to be owners. They could be employees of businesses within the city.
I would prefer them to be owners. And I was told that there was 2 and the rest would be residents. Because I prefer residents as well. But an economic board, I also believe we should have business owners as well on that board. I'm not saying every board, but I mean.
I agree with that too.
So
Right.
just to be clear, the way this is drafted is up to 3 members could be either owners or employees. So if you,
No, I would say owners.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we can change this it's on first reading, so.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Mr. Traeger, this is first reading. You'll have to talk to us about it at another time. I can't communicate with you about it at this time. Okay. So it's first reading, so any clarification between now and the next reading, you can make it to me and staff. Okay.
If it's a
I
if it's a
agree.
corporation, can it be like a general manager that works there? Do they have to be an owner?
I would think they would need to be a business owner.
I prefer
in the
business
city of
owner.
Daytona.
Well, I understand, but we have businesses here that are corporations that have general managers. They are considered employees.
Well, yeah, they are, but I prefer the business owner to be, that's the person that's making the investment,
The employees
And
come and
that's-
go.
Yeah,
Right, that's what I prefer as well.
yeah.
So is it economic development for like local business owners, not for all businesses here? That's why I'm just saying for general managers, because we are, tourism is our main business.
Well, I mean,
Just consider it, because, right, this is first reading?
yeah.
I just wanted to add to that most business people, if you're a small business, I'm a small business, taking time off sometimes, it's a challenge when you're a single operator or you have a general manager. Or it's a hard go to take off the time. It's not that you're not interested in your city, it's that it is a consideration. Maybe that's why we're not getting as many of the business people to attend. But again, we have someone from the chamber here, and maybe they could put the word out also. They have really good involvement and participation.
Okay, all right. Comments have been made, and I think we're clear. We want business owners.
We'll revise the ordinance for second reading.
Okay. All right. Let's move on.
Okay. The second reading for this item is July 5th. Okay. We're going to move on to item 10B. It's a Growth Management and Planning Department redistricting ordinance amendment. This is an introduction of an ordinance on a first reading. An ordinance amending Subpart A, Article 2, Section 2 of the City Charter, amending the boundaries of the existing City Commission members' district within the City of Daytona Beach, Volusia County, Florida, establishing new boundaries in accordance with Florida Constitution, Florida statutes, and Article 2, Section 2 of the City Charter, and other legal requirements, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date. And this is an introduction of an ordinance.
Mayor Commission, good evening. Jim Morris, Deputy City Manager. We've circulated what's known as Plan D, which is a redrawn set of district maps that the Commission requested after the last consideration by the Commission. The object of Plan D was to address concerns enunciated by different Commission members in your session as a Commission. And individual Commission members have looked at things, and a number of them have had separate meetings to look at their districts, look at the overall plan, take into consideration what's demonstrated on the maps. Tonight at this first reading, you have the opportunity to say whether you like any of the plans A, B, C, or D. And if you like a particular plan, pick which one that is. And if you say, well, I like that plan, but, and there's something else that you need to do with the plan that the majority of the Commission or a consensus of the Commission seems to agree upon should be the base to work from, there's still the opportunity to make changes because this is the first reading of the ordinance. And you can do that if you wish to do so. There is not a public hearing tonight for this, just the consideration of the Commission, what it wishes to do, which plan it wishes to select, if it wishes to select any of them, and if it selects a particular plan, if there's further modification the Commission wishes to address. We do have our consultant with us. Doug Gutierrez is here in the audience. He's worked a lot on this with the planning staff. And that's really, I think, what I need to say to y'all tonight in respect to this thing, except to try and answer questions if you have questions. There have been a couple of small changes to the map due to annexations that have occurred in the time of the process that we've been going forward. The RV park out between 92 and I-94 has been annexed into the property. A couple of other small ones. There's about an 8.8 acre site, I think, that came in, but not much change and no change in population. Really, it's just a little addition of properties here and there that have come into the city during that. So we're doing our best to keep it as current as possible at the time of election, so that by adoption rather, so that you have it all current. If you have questions, I'll try to answer them. And we do have folks here to respond if you come to individual questions.
I remember Lisa Lewis being here and asking us, I believe, not to split BCU. Was that taken into account?
If I may, she made a statement, but she also said at that meeting that as the supervisor of elections, she would work with whatever decision the City Commission made. I think at the same time, if I recall, and Mayor, I expect you to correct me if I'm off base, that there was a sense of practice in Daytona Beach as it related to Bethune-Cookman, that there would be two district representatives addressing the campus body through that, and that's actually what this Plan D does. Other plans that we have had do that. All that said, regarding whatever the history may have been, and Supervisor Lewis said she could work with it being one zone or two zones, either way, it was her answer in the final discussion with the Commission. But it is a consensus of the Commission as to what it decides to do. And the Mayor has spoken about the history, and he may wish to speak about that more. He knows it better than I do. I know that. And there is a reason for the decision or the approach in respect to that.
That's adequate. Quite adequate. Thank you. Okay. All right, we'll see the presentation.
Yes, sir.
He's only here for questions? Oh. No, he'd like to tell him.
They do have.
He always has good things to say.
Mr. Mayor, members of the Commission, Albert Hill, representing WGI, who's been responsible for generating your 4 potential redistricting plans. I'm here to answer any questions. Briefly, your population changed from 2010 to 2020 by approximately 20%. In the 27 months since the census was done, your population, according to the census and their estimates are your population's grown by an additional 8.9%, which is pretty amazing, quite frankly, and obviously good for the city. The special considerations that we took into account when we worked on all of these plans was to keep all of you in your current districts, to balance the populations per zone as best we could based on the census information, and because of the amount of time that went on between the census and now, to try to take into account residential growth, to keep the zones compact and contiguous as best as possible, to keep intact large populations, ethnic populations, minority populations, for the zone boundaries to be nonpartisan, to consider communities of special interest, things like college campuses, subdivisions, neighborhoods, things of that nature, whenever possible. Sometimes the census geography worked against us in that case. And also, again, because of the time from the census, to take into account annexations as they occurred from the time we started until now, and to look at population, potential population changes that those annexations might have caused to the original plans. So again, as was mentioned, there were 4 plans. 2 initial plans were presented, then a third plan based on input from a variety of people. At the workshop that was conducted provided a number of additional factors that people wanted us to take into consideration, and we tried to do that with Plan D. We made available an interactive map for people to be able to look at the plan all the way down to the street level if they wanted to. It appears that there is consensus for Plan D. The populations are balanced. Everyone's still in their current district. And we did try to take into account things like CRA boundaries, schools, because there were questions raised about what schools were in what zones, and the underpopulation for Zone 4 has, I think, based on our models, been absolutely met based on residential growth in that area. So again, from a point of view of CRAs, we were unfortunately having to split midway because of where seated commissioners live. The only other CRAs that have been split, and those splits are minor, are based on census geography. That the census blocks are not coincidental with the CRA boundaries, which is something that might be taken into consideration when the census asks the city how they want boundaries redrawn in 2 or 3 years. High School Seabreeze is in Zone 2. Father Lopez is in Zone 4. Mainland is in Zone 6. There were questions about the community centers. Dickerson Community Center is in Zone 3, and Cherry Community Center is in Zone 6. And I know that Commissioner Cantu was interested in where the Amazon property falls. That's still in Plan D in Zone 4. So, briefly, are there any considerations, concerns, potential modifications that we should consider trying to make with Plan D? I'm prepared to take notes.
I just have a question on Zone 4. Everything was pretty much the same from B, except you added the Amazon. So what I'm trying to say is Pine Lakes would go to Commissioner Paris now. NASCAR, Indigo would go to Commissioner Reed.
Yes.
And then, because I know I'm the only one really getting rid of some of the residents, which I don't want to. And then from east of 95 would go to Commissioner Henry.
Yes.
Okay. And by looking at Plan D, it says, I'm looking at everybody, they have, the population is, the residents in their zones around 12,000. Mine's close to 11,000, so I'm about 1,000 less, which I know I have a lot of houses that are being built.
Correct, the residential construction.
Correct. But originally, you're only supposed to go according to the 2020 census every 10 years. But
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
Yes, but generally redistricting is accomplished within less than a year of the census population information being made public.
Okay, and I'm fine with Plan D. I don't know.
By the time the growth in the zones will be 2030, time to do it again, we'll make the adjustment.
Yeah. I'll be retired by then. I'm retired now.
Okay, do we have any other questions?
Good.
Okay. The
All right, thank you very much.
D for Delta.
The public hearing and final action is July 5th.
Mayor, if I may, point of order, then we will advertise Plan D for second reading to be considered at the next available commission meeting. Thank you, sir.
Okay. We're going to move on to item 10C, which is Growth Management and Planning Department, Electronic Message Center Signs, Land Development Code Text Amendment. This is an introduction of an ordinance on first reading. An ordinance amending the City Land Development Code, LDC, amending LDC Article 6, Section 6.10.j to modify current development standards for electronic message center signs, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date. And are there any questions or comments from the commission on this item? Okay, the public hearing and final action is July 5th. Moving on to item 10D, it's a Growth Management and Planning Department, Fair Lawn Voluntary Annexation. This is an introduction of an ordinance on first reading. An ordinance annexing into the city of Daytona Beach approximately 9+ acres of land located generally northeast of the intersection of Clyde Morris Boulevard and Strickland Range Road, consisting of 37 individual platted lots of the Fair Lane at Daytona subdivision, redefining the territorial boundaries of the city of Daytona Beach to include the property, redesignating the boundaries of Zone 5 of the city of Daytona Beach to include the property, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date. And are there any questions or comments on this item? Okay, the public hearing and final action is July 5th. Moving on to item 10E, it's a Growth Management Planning Department, Fair Lawn Plan Development General. This is an introduction of an ordinance on a first reading. An ordinance amending the zoning map of the Land Development Code to rezone 198 ± acres of property generally located northeast of the Clyde Morris Boulevard and the Strickland Range Road intersection from BC, Volusia County, R2 Urban Single Family Residential to PDG Plan Development General, approving the Fair Lawn Plan District Agreement to allow for a maximum of 350 multifamily residential or townhome units and approximately 4 acres of medical or office-related uses, subject to certain conditions, authorizing the mayor and the city clerk to execute the agreement, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date. And are there any questions or comments on this item from the commission? Okay. The public hearing and final action will be July 5th. Moving on to item 10F is Growth Management Planning Department Sporty's Car Wash Plan Development General. This is an introduction of an ordinance on first reading. An ordinance amending the zoning map of the Land Development Code to rezone 2.11 ± acres of property located at 1500 West International Speedway Boulevard at the northwest corner of West International Speedway Boulevard and Hagen Terrace, Office Restaurant T2 and Plan Development General to Plan Development General, approving the Sporty's Car Wash Daytona Beach Plan District Agreement, authorizing the property to be developed as an automated car wash and enclosed vacuum court, authorizing the mayor and the city clerk to execute the agreement, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date. And are there any questions or comments for this item? Okay, the public hearing and final action is July 5th. Moving on to item 10G, it's the Economic Development Approval of an Incentive Agreement between the City of Daytona Beach and Project Robin. Resolution, a resolution approving an economic incentive agreement between the City of Daytona Beach and Encompass Health Rehabilitation Hospital of Daytona Beach LLC for the construction of a 50-bed inpatient rehabilitation center on 8.8 acres of land located at the southwest corner of Williamson Boulevard and Strickland Range Road, providing for the city to pay Encompass Health an annual economic incentive grant not to exceed $300,000 per year from ad valorem tax revenues generated by the project for a period of 5 years after completion, subject to conditions, authorizing the mayor and the city clerk to execute the agreement on behalf of the city and providing an effective date.
I just have a question on this. Who would be responsible to make sure that these jobs are being created? I forgot to ask that.
Either one, you can answer, Ben, or?
Hi,
You
Jeff.
go ahead.
Commissioner, they will submit a paperwork, oh, Jeff Brown, I'm sorry. Economic and Strategic Opportunities Director. So every year, they will have to submit an audit of their own personal audit to show which jobs and salaries are being produced in the facility. The city then also has a provision in there that we put into, if we question those numbers, we can have an independent third party come in and also do an audit on their
books
on their
and
personnel.
records.
Yes.
So
And if that audit reveals that that information that they gave us is incorrect, we can claw back a part of the grant that we've previously given, and there is a provision for reducing the grant if they haven't provided all of the jobs that they're supposed to hit in terms of milestones.
Correct.
Thank you.
We have that in all of our economic development grant agreements. I wouldn't be able to answer that. I don't think that we have a tremendous number of economic development grant agreements. If you recall, we traditionally approved economic development grants by ordinance under authority of the state statute. We're not doing that. These agreements are in place of that because they give us the ability to tailor the grant a little bit more to the specific facts of the situation. And in my view, we have stronger rights contractually to do things like clawing back and reducing the grant under these contracts. I did want to point out to the commissioners, and as you probably know, I emailed you a revised markup of this agreement, and I won't walk through all of the modifications, but in short, what they did was to clarify what the milestones are for the number of full-time positions each year. The original agreement, you could have gotten there, but it wasn't quite so explicit. And it also clarified exactly what part of the income tax that's being paid on the property is being rebated, if you will. And that's in order to make this more like the ordinance that we would have traditionally adopted, where the incentive is based on the amount of the taxes for the improvements, not the raw dirt. So that's what the changes were that you saw. And I would recommend that if you do move to approve, you move to approve with the changes shown in the markup draft that I produced. I can tell you that the attorney for the other party has indicated that they're okay with those changes. And in fact, they've signed a revised agreement containing those changes.
And I do have Ms. Jessica Gow here for questions, and I also have a speaker, Ms. Ann Ruby. This is a resolution.
Ann Ruby, 137 Park Avenue. One of the things that you should be, I'm hoping we'll put in this contract, is that instead of just looking at jobs as FTEs, because that's how they do it, and then looking at average salary, look at median salary, because you'll get very different numbers. If you have, just look at FTEs and average salary, it's very easy to think that you've got a lot of good paying jobs, when what you really have are a lot of people working 20 hours a week, making not much money. And it's being pulled up by a few people making a boatload of money. So I'm urging you to please look at not just FTEs and average salary, but actual employee counts, whether they're full-time, part-time, and number of hours. I understand that's a little tougher for them, but we're giving them a benefit here. And to look at median salary, not average. It's a different number. So please, I'm urging you to do that. Thank you.
Okay. I don't have any more speakers, and we don't have a motion on this item yet. This one's a resolution.
I move on the amendments that were made by our attorney for this item.
I'll second it.
So the motion is to approve as amended.
Yes.
What about the clarification of the median income as suggested by Ms. Ruby? I do believe that there is a distinction in that you want to make sure that the average person it really reflects what we want, which is not some CEO making $400,000 and then someone else making, or general manager making $300,000. So
Well,
it does make
But
sense.
just say in here that 98 full-time positions with an average salary of 68,000.
Average.
That's average.
You certainly have the discretion to require that. I don't know if you'll enter into a contract based on that. The business owner you'd probably want to hear what their view is on that. And I see Ms. Gao is prepared to discuss that.
But Mr. Mayor, I can tell you that I did not look at the median. I did look at the average. However, when you took out the two top performers, just as what Ms. Ruby was talking about, because I know that is a tactic sometimes used by certain groups, they still were above the 65,000. So the majority of the employees there are going to be above the 65,000 because their average was somewhere, I think, about 68. And don't quote me on that, but it was close to that.
Okay. That's what the documentation yields.
Yes.
Jessica, do you want to speak to this?
Good evening, Jessica Gallo, Copco Law Firm, 149 South Ridgewood Avenue, Daytona Beach, Florida. I agree with Jeff. We've gone through this with staff, so that is kind of where the numbers go. I have John Wells here with Encompass Health with me if you have questions on operation and the layout of the site. We don't have authority tonight to switch from the average to the median. If it's something that commission wants to review, we're happy to take that back and kind of review and discuss. I said for questions, I'm sorry, I just want to hit on a few topics here on the site. We presented this before the Economic Development Advisory Board, and the first question was, we have rehabilitation centers and we have hospitals. What's different about this? And it's really kind of filling the gap in the market that we don't have now. So it's a specialty hospital is how it's licensed by the state, and it is an inpatient facility. So you go and you stay in this rehabilitation center. You have round-the-clock supervision, you have dedicated care throughout the days. They do physical therapy, they do occupational therapy, they do speech therapy. One of the things you see with this is that right now the closest specialty hospital of this kind is in Jacksonville, Orlando, Ocala, and it's actually treatment prohibitive for individuals who need this care to travel that far for that distance. So you have them staying in our current hospital facilities. We have some Brooks rehabilitation already here in the city. But you also have a stress on those hospitals from that. When we have neighborhood meetings, when we had the Williamson Hand rezoning, the residents said we don't have hospital capacity right now. And part of it is that these patients who need this, sweet spot in the middle between rehabilitation and acute care are in the hospital right now because they can't travel back and forth day to day to a rehab center, but they don't have a facility like this to go to. And so we think it's really filling a gap in that market. That's what the Economic Development Board said as well. We think it's a great project overall, and I'm really passionate about seeing something like this happen out there in the corridor that I see as kind of our medical corridor, teeing up with the VA hospital, with Advent, with an emergency room planned out there as well. So if you have further questions, happy to answer them, but I wanted to make that note and say we're happy to go back and look, but tonight we don't have the authorization to make the change.
I'd just like to say something. Actually, when I first heard about this, I was actually against the incentive on here. actually doing my homework and someone on another board giving me some information, and then talking, which I have 2 daughters in the healthcare, and I have a daughter-in-law as the head OR charge nurse, and my sister's the head ER charge nurse. This is something that's really needed here in Daytona. So I am actually for it.
Yeah, it is very much needed.
Correct.
And with the level of growth that we are experiencing, I can't say how much, but I've looked at it and been and toured the emergency rooms and the hospitals, and I'm concerned. So it's very much needed. Mr. Strickland?
I like the idea of the project. However, I would like to see it continued till we get the specific numbers that Ms. Ruby talked about, to, and then move forward at that point in time. Because I'm not a mathematical genius, but when you've got an average at $68,000 and you take away 500,000, I think it was, with the numbers he just quoted, and then average it again, I don't understand how you could still be at 68,000. So I would like to see the revised numbers to be put before us before we vote. That's all I'm asking. I think it's a good project. I just want to be sure your numbers are right. And I don't think that's out of question.
What? Jessica, is that reasonable?
It's the commission's discretion.
I'm
I'd say on the median.
I
versus
just,
average.
it's an agreement, and people operate under timelines.
Absolutely. We are still
I
under,
tend
we're
to
in
believe
site
what
plan
staff
review.
has said,
Right.
that it meets the threshold that we're looking for. So I'm personally comfortable with it, but I also respect my colleagues' position, and we have to do our due diligence also. So,
Certainly.
I did have an additional speaker sign up, Mr. Nicholson.
did you have?
Yeah, I
something?
just have one thing. I think this is a great thing to have in the area because we have a lot of people that live alone, and we require this, and there's a need for it.
Absolutely.
So I'm happy that it's coming.
Thank you.
When it does.
John, and what we'll do on that is we can vote. If you guys just want to move on, we'll vote it the way you want, or you can
It's a resolution.
agree with Ken. Yes, sir.
John Nicholson, 413 North Granbury Avenue. As you know, I spent 8 years in Miami taking care of my mom, and then my mom and my sister both ended up in these facilities. What they are basically is, if you go to the hospital and you have surgery, you take up a bed. Once the surgery is done, you sit there until you're well, and you twiddle your thumbs until you're well. That bed is taken up and it can't be used by anybody else. So what this does is it moves those people that are sitting recovering to another location that doesn't have all the bells and whistles that a hospital is required to have. So what it is doing, it is opening the beds for people that need them for hospital, surgery, etc. And then it moves those that no longer need the extensive care of hospitals to another location in which basically is just recovery. So it's making best use of hospital space is what it is. As you know, I taught math, so mean, median, mode, and average are important to me, and I understand them quite well. And if indeed she says that they took out the high end, because if you do median, you're saying if somebody makes $1 million and somebody makes 20,000, then your median is $500,000. Well, obviously that doesn't work. You can't use median. Mode doesn't work. That's the one that appears most often.
Yes. Okay.
So what you're doing
Give us a
by
half glass left.
doing what Jessica's done is they've taken the top, what skews it terribly wrong, out of the equation. So the massive number of people then get averaged. So if you take the top 2 earners out and average the rest, that's where you get your 68,000, which I think is valid. Thank you.
Okay, I know.
Currently, we have a motion and a second to adopt it as amended.
The question is, do you all want to put it on hold for 2 weeks, or do you want to go forward with it as it is? Is there an appetite to do as Mr. Strickland? I will support it, but if there's not 4 people that want to do that, then we move on. That's on. No? Okay. So we don't have an appetite? All right, let's vote.
Okay.
We have a motion. We have a second. No further commentary. All right, all those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-1. I'm supportive. Okay.
That was our final agenda item. That was our final agenda item, Mr. Mayor.
That concludes our agenda. This time we will hear from the commission. Who started? Was it Commissioner May?
I think we started with Can
Can 2?
2 this time.
I'm good.
Okay.
You're good?
I'm good.
All right, good to hear that. Commissioner Henry? Great. Commissioner Reed?
No comments.
Oh, boy, we're going tonight. Yes, ma'am.
Gonna break the street.
Mr. Parrish?
I just want to know, is there any update, because I have some residents asking about the Army Corps of Engineers, if the agreement was signed? Nothing yet? We haven't heard anything yet, okay. And then I wanted to ask Commissioner Cantu about the TPO. I don't know if anyone else could help me. With the list of priority projects, does that come through us, or does it just go through our representative? Do you know? Or I could wait till she gets back. And a real important thing is City Island Tennis. I have some residents here today that have contacted me that are very concerned about what's going to happen with City Island Tennis. They've been playing there for, I'd say, like 30, 40 plus years. City Island Tennis has been there since 1920, so it is historical. I know that we are still waiting to see what we're going to be doing with Jackie Robinson. So I just wanted to bring it up to see what we could do with City Island Tennis, if we're going to keep it, or can we move it somewhere? It's something important to them because we don't have anything here on the east side. The closest would be Florida Tennis Center, and as you know, with the traffic already going there, and then I believe there's maybe 1 or 2 courts at Schnebly. And they're having to go to Daytona Beach Shores, and you can't reserve courts at Daytona Beach Shores unless you're a resident for certain times. So there is a need for it. So I just wanted to bring it up and see if there's something we could do. And they are going to speak on it.
What's going on with Jack? What's going on? Because all of you folks play tennis? Okay, well, we got to have a tennis court. Brother, just that simple. We got to have one. Well, I mean, it's important. If you
The mayor said so.
we have to have one. Okay, so what is the issue, Mr. Manager?
Currently, there are 2 issues for the tennis courts, but David Waller and his team, we've been evaluating the location of the tennis courts and also what else can be done on City Island. The cost to improve the tennis courts is between $800 and $1 million. It's on the estimates we received.
Well, please don't do that. Yeah, we're not going to do that.
Yeah. So two issues happened. The city was planning to renovate and resurface the courts before Hurricane Ian and Nicole. After that took place, the consultants came back in and said because of the amount of water that was placed on the courts, that the resurfacing could not be just simply done. We need to replace the entire system of courts. Staff is willing to do that because we can work with FEMA to receive some of the funds because it was part of the hurricane. One of the things that we've been evaluating, if the city in the future were to decide that they wanted to do renovations of Jackie Robinson Stadium, would it be beneficial for us as staff to put money into that exact location or find a location off on City Island where they've looked at for volleyball courts or additional tennis courts? So it's not a desire to totally just remove tennis from that area, but to evaluate instead of spending $800 to $1 million at that spot, should we be evaluating where else we can do that on the City Island area or even looking at Bethune Point, those type of things. So it's not a matter of us saying don't do it, but if we're going to invest as a city in the next couple of years of doing stuff with Jackie Robinson, there's no need to put in $1 million at the current location they're at, and that's what staff has been discussing.
Oh, and that's reasonable and prudent. I would think, because it's a given that the jack is gonna change. And looking at the proximity of the tennis courts, it's probable that the tennis courts would be moved or raised, so you wouldn't want to spend. But I don't know. We'd have to, if we spent $1 million on that, or 800,000, or 400,000, or 500,000, whatever you folks believe the price is. But with construction costs, I wouldn't defer to you on that one. But whatever the cost is, if we spent that, then we would need to know that that's going to be off the table, that it's going to be moved. Because we're not going to spend $500,000 or 800,000 and then tear it up. We'd be not wise.
I just want to add that the volleyball courts are actually utilized in the evening times, later in the evening, by students from Embry-Riddle and different universities. They come out there, so just I'm keeping an eye on the volleyball courts for the students out there.
But they're further away and safer.
They're further away, but they are using them. I think we mentioned maybe put them by the volleyball courts. That's fine, but the volleyball courts are being utilized.
One of the other additional things is David has been looking at putting an additional volleyball court because of that. So it's we've been evaluating. We're not just sitting. Staff has looked at those particular options, because if we were to come and say, let's go ahead and take the 800,000 and put it back in the tennis courts, and 2 years from now, you all say, well, the Jack has a better team, we're going to do more things, and we have to tear it up. So it's not off the table. It's just being looked at to make sure we spend the taxpayers' money wisely.
Okay. So what is the timeline for us to look at this, and what do we need to do? I know we don't have a plan, but have we consulted and spoken to the Tortugas, and how's it coming?
Yeah, staff is currently working on them to get a new lease agreement. We don't want to have a 1 or 2 year lease agreement. The city puts in 10 million, they put in 5 and 3. So we're trying to bring back in the next couple of months, or maybe even sooner, a lease agreement that fits for not only the Tortugas and the community, but for the city as well. So we're working on that. We anticipate having an agreement for the second meeting in July to be brought back to you all. And if it fits what we think is appropriate from a financial standpoint for both Tortugas and us, we'll be recommending approval for it.
Okay. And just for what it's worth, not that I know what's best, but my perspective is it would be best to move the tennis court. It would just be best. On a lot of fronts, to move it over on the other side, or even at another park that's in proximity to the people who play. We don't want to deeply inconvenience folks, but okay, I think that's reasonable. Further commentary?
Well, I just want to say, I know that the volleyball courts are being used by the college students, and I'm happy that they use it. But we have residents too that are paying taxes, so I think they should be a priority.
No.
No?
With that, but we also have students at Embry-Riddle who are residents, and there's quite a contingency of them, so they're residents also.
Yeah. We don't get to pick and choose based on, because college students we're a college town. We got 44,000 college students in town, so we're not going to pit residents against residents. What they're doing is important. And we're going to support that, and we're going to support everybody. So it's not one against the other, and it's not really fair to say they're not paying taxes, because they're paying taxes in a lot of different ways.
Well, I know I'm my representative for my residents, so they take priority for me. And then I just wanted to also ask about TPO. Do we have like a list of priority projects? Like, how does that work? Do we vote on it, or do you just represent us?
Yeah, we do have a list, and I will send it to Letitia, and Letitia can send you a list. And I vote on it with the other municipalities that are elected to be on that board.
Okay, and if we feel like a certain road should be priority, do we just send it to you and copy everybody in, or?
You should bring it in here, because we kind of
Okay.
have discussed what priorities are, and we don't want to your road to necessarily jump over, another road that might be a priority that we direct.
So it gets voted on by all?
No,
No?
I don't know if we ever voted on it. We discussed it.
No?
We
Right,
voted
we
on May-
discussed it, I can bring
We
it back.
discuss it and we get a consensus as to which roads are most.
So this might already be in the works, I don't know, but I'll look
But
after this.
they have a long-range plan. I mean, like 10, 20-year plan. So it's not something that you bring to me and I can go there and they say, okay, we're going to put that number one priority. It doesn't work that way.
But as a commission, can we discuss what in the city we feel is priority?
Yes, I can discuss what
Okay.
you want, I mean, but I can't guarantee you that.
No, I know, but I would like to know what the
Yeah,
process is.
We can discuss it and we can discuss it, amongst ourselves
Mm-hmm.
so that she represents us in the way that we want to be represented.
Correct.
What's our number one priority?
LPGA.
Yeah. So,
And-
we.
And actually, I just found out recently, actually Senator Wright, his aide is here right now, at a meeting in Margaritaville about LPGA west of 95. They are in talks with the county, because the county is actually paying for that right now. But it's a county, I mean, the state is, it's a county road, but they're in talks right now of trading, and I verified that with the county, trading LPGA west of 95 for Peninsula, and the state taking over that. And actually, I kind of think it might be a good thing.
What do you mean trading?
Yes, trading roads for.
Jurisdiction
yes.
over the roads?
So they would take over Peninsula?
Yes, the county but east of 95, that will still stay county. But it kind of makes sense because west of 95, 92, that's already state, so, yes. And they are in negotiation at the time, right now.
Well, that would be a good negotiation because it'll happen much quicker if they take it over.
That's what I think.
Even though, I don't know if it's good for Peninsula, but I don't know, that's questionable. But okay,
And just is there anything planned for east of ISB? From where they're doing now? I'm sorry, west of ISB.
West of ISB.
west of ISB from where?
Well, it's going to be Beach to all of ISB. Kind of needs.
We had that ceremony.
She's talking on the other side of the bridge.
Right, west side.
Well,
So west of
International has gotten
Ridge-
more attention than
Ridgewood.
any road in Daytona
Right.
Beach. So I'm not gonna,
No?
Yeah, I don't think so.
yeah, I'm not
I
gonna,
mean,
I don't, it's not a
I
bigger
know
priority
Mason
than
Avenue
Mason
would.
and the other roads by far.
I think Mason Avenue is my
Biggest priority.
second priority
too.
because I've lived here almost all my life and Mason Avenue looks the
Never
same
gotten any
as
attention.
when I was a kid. And phase one, I mean, they're doing phase one and we just fought about turning in phase two.
Mm-hmm.
So, of Mason Avenue, which that's low on the,
Totem pole.
correct.
compared-
But
compared to LPG.
at least it's there.
And you're just talking a short spot on International, because International has been completely redone from 95 all the way to Ridgewood almost, and so it's just not a high priority from my
Okay.
perspective.
Thank you, appreciate it.
That little strip, okay. All right, Commissioner Strickland.
Just a couple of things. When it comes to development, we talk about infrastructure. And I think that includes our hospitals and our medical personnel. And as everybody sitting up here knows, probably a few people out there knows that I had a little medical episode right out there in that hallway back in October. So when I left the hospital, I was told I needed to follow up with a specialist. Follow-up to me would be 7 to 10 days. It was 3 months before I could see a specialist. Last night, one of my residents, I got a phone call that they were having some chest pains. Would I give them a ride out to Advent? Gave them a ride out to Advent, and Advent was, the waiting area in the emergency room was full. They had people to the right from where you go into the emergency room, sitting all back in there in chairs and on things. In the future, I think when we talk about development, we need to bring attention to this because what's a human life worth? I've asked that question before, people getting hit crossing the street, you know. We need to have more doctors, we need more medical spaces, tied in with the rate we're growing. I don't think our facilities medically and that sort of thing are keeping up with what the demand is and is going to be. That room, I was there for 3 hours, and that room was packed the whole time, and they just kept coming. You know, a few leave, and here comes some more. So something I would like for us to kind of look at or address. I don't know if we have to do a study. I'm not a big fan of studies, but to I'm sorry I'm putting you to sleep.
You're not far from putting me to sleep. Far from it. I've mentioned this, and I've talked about, you know, my visits to the hospitals and my tours and conversation with CEOs of the hospitals. And Advent's position is that we're not at a point, even though it's concerning because they're engaged in an expansion.
Right.
But they didn't say that it wasn't concerning, but it just wasn't, it wasn't dire. But that didn't mean that I wasn't left with much consolation from the conversation.
Right.
And so I say all of that to say, I am concerned about the level of growth that we have, and that not what's on the books, but, you know, we've got a lot more that people want to do that's nowhere near on the books. So that's what I'm concerned about. And so I think here's what we should do, because I think it's a reasonable, we should ask the school board for a report on school capacity for all 10 of the schools that are in Daytona Beach. And we should also ask the hospitals for a some sort of a report on emergency room overload. They know. And we should also ask hospital capacity. We know that was all an issue during COVID, but that might not be an issue now, but we want to know if it's an issue. Right. Because we should, by all means, consider, can our schools handle it? We also need to know from ourselves, where will the new fire stations go? What fire stations will we need? Where will we need them located? How many more police officers are we going to need? Because we can't get enough police officers as it is. So I think all of this is critical information, and I'm appreciative of you bringing it up because it's been on my mind. I hadn't formulated how to bring it all together, but we need some data so that we can make informed decisions about our growth and how we want to manage it. Right. Because if we are out of control, traffic is a bad issue, but it ain't the worst issue.
No.
The worst issue is not having a hospital bed, and then not having a police officer, and then not having a school teacher. You know, to deal, and we may be at closer to capacity in all of those ways. So you got all that? Let's figure out how we can correspond with the people who run those institutions to help us to then create a matrix. Make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for your support and bringing that up as well. I have a resident that is not able to get out. I'm sure they're watching at home tonight. That sent me a text and said, can you ask a question tonight why the staff is not addressed, why they're ending the Saturday farmers market downtown, and what did they do to try to save it? Why can't it continue to exist, and what is the harm? Thank you. Have we got any answer for that?
I'm happy to address that. So, and I'm not sure if we have Mr. Thomas here, since he's going to come up also. Come So I sit on the DDA, and it was a hard and difficult process to come to the decision to relocate the farmers market in the best interest of the community so we don't actually lose it. On that board sits Ms. Cheryl Cook. She was a business owner downtown with Rolex. Her father actually started, and her family started the farmers market, so it really broke our hearts to have to come to that decision. The farmers market continues under a new agreement with the Esplanade. They'll be hosting events. They'll be working with it. They'll be working with our marketing team to help continue it. If at any time we want to add to it on Magnolia, I believe we have that option as well. But this took a series of months. This was not come to very easily. It took almost a year to come to this decision, trying different things over a period of time, testing it both on Magnolia, and then also testing various ideas at the Esplanade. It was with a heavy heart that we came to this decision, but we watched it dwindle over a period of time due to multiple market factors, the bridge closing, COVID happening, relocating the market, not a bad thing, did it when nobody was around, got the WIC program, got the SNAP program. What happened in the meantime? Farmers markets popped up in different places. We had people starting to shop online. We had delivery services as well. Other things were going on to cause this. It was no longer a farmers market of downtown. Those are just some of the conversations we've had. It's been well thought through for a period of time. Mr. Thomas?
You covered it well.
Well, that was well, but let me ask you this. The problem is, and I'm asking, not stating, is the problem that we're not having well, I guess I should ask this. What can we do conceivably to incentivize vendors, and will vendors have the same access in the Esplanade?
Mm-hmm.
So if a general vendor wants to come to the Esplanade, they can come.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to take one part, but you can take the other part. So I can speak to the past since I've been on the board for a number of years now. When we had COVID, we lost vendors. When we had the hurricanes, we definitely lost vendors because they had no access for a period of time. And with the farmers market, you have to maintain the momentum.
Mm-hmm.
And so week to week, it was a mishmash of what is going to happen next, just because of what was going on in the area. People lose momentum. That's how we're looking at it. Also, trying to find vendors is a challenge at this point. And it's not just, we wanted it to be a farmer's market of food and produce. It was slowly becoming plants and something else because there weren't enough farmers. One person actually said on record that they would go to Publix, buy fruits and vegetables, and come and sell it at the market. Wow. Okay, so I don't know what to do with that. That's not quite what people, but I appreciate the fact that they're willing to, hey, at least have something available. Their thought process was people who cannot go too far were coming to the downtown area to get their fruits and vegetables on a Saturday. But they were going to Publix to bring it here, not kind of what I thought we were going for. So that is, and that's on record, by the way.
You don't make no money doing that.
But they were doing it to help their community, right? So, Mr. Thomas, do you want to speak to it?
Yeah, Mayor, we're also planning on providing some kind of incentive, meaning that we'll pay portions of the costs for the vendors to open up at the Esplanade.
That's what I was leaning toward.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to hear.
Yeah.
Because that's what it takes to get the revitalization. And I will say this, that's a part of the COVID response.
Mm-hmm.
That is a part of the COVID response. And so it does warrant COVID money being appropriated for that, or redevelopment money being appropriated to address that.
Yes.
Because we lost it in part because of COVID. And I don't know Daytona Beach really without City Island as a farmer's market. And frankly, I'm not really interested in knowing that. So I'd like to do what we can to, and I'm pleased, and I was somewhat aware of, what was going on, but I'm pleased that there has been a deep effort and that it will continue and that we will do something to incentivize.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Okay. All right.
I'm through.
That's it? Good job. Thank you.
So I'm appreciating the Dickinson Center will be in Zone 3 as we move forward with our plans. I'm liking the mural that's in the news bulletin. It's a concrete structure with some painting around. Every time I make the request for our electrical boxes in the local community to be covered as well with the general theme throughout the area. I guess it's on the agenda at some point. And overall, I'm pleased with the way the area is looking. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Commissioner, we started with you, so it concludes with me. I'm looking forward to seeing some murals go up. Still waiting for staff to bring us affordable housing solutions. And the manager whispers that it's coming. I just want you all to know that I sat in my study today and I started writing down a list. If you don't come soon, you're going to have a presentation from me, because I'm ready to do something about affordable housing. And I already have ideas. You already know I have ideas. So if you don't come, I'll have a slideshow and a clicker and things that I think are possible. And the commissioners will be looking at me like, can he hurry up already? So we better hurry up, because the issue is getting more dire and more drastic every single day. You know, I looked at some statistics today and looked at people who are challenged by cost burden for places to live. 30% is the number. Man, people are 50, 60, 70%. You know, and we are steady approving, continuing to approve new construction and not getting the benefits of that in a way. So it's time. We're way past time. And I will leave that at that. And you say it's coming, but next week I'll be saying the same thing. The Juneteenth, they did a great job this year. Did a great job on all fronts. The fashion show down on MMB, I got great reports. I wasn't present, but I got great reports. We're getting a lot of great reports in terms of music festivals. There's a lot of things going on and taking place in Daytona Beach. And so I get a lot of complaints a lot of times about there's nothing to do, but that's just not true. You got to stop saying that, and you got to come out of your turtle shell and open your eyes and get out and see and go places. I mean, you can almost go anywhere from one Daytona to Tanger to anywhere and get some sort of a cultural sort of experience to the band shell. And I'm just excited with all that I'm seeing at the Dickinson Center. Man, looking good. Looking really good. Looking just excited. Our parks are looking good. What's the park we doing on Saturday? I don't know if I'll be there. Which Collins? Looking good. Looking good. They call it Ken's Park. What's coming on at Daisy is going to be amazing. And I was riding down beach today and looking at the Esplanade. Man, it looks phenomenal on the other end. Not open yet. But I'm saying all of that to say that we have a lot to be excited about. But I'm going to conclude on a sad note or a concerning note that's going to take all of our efforts. We've had a rash of violence and shooting that we cannot ignore and pretend that it's not happening. And I've been in communication with some folks who are doing some things and planning some things to bring awareness. But we got to go a little bit beyond awareness and I will say that Keith Willis and his staff has done a men's league for basketball, but we've got to come up with some ideas to engage this population of 16 to 30 year-old males particularly, and African Americans in general, to be engaged in things that are going to eliminate this rash of violence that we're experiencing. So I am interested in hearing, from this commission and from us, establishing some things that we might be able to do. So, Mr. Manager?
Nothing to report tonight.
Ben? Nope. Okay, at this time, we will begin to hear from the world's greatest residents, the residents of Daytona Beach.
Okay. Our first speaker is Scott Larson, and on deck is John Navarra.
Scotty.
Here,
Keep going, Scott.
Where is it? Oh.
And its microphone's right in front of you.
Thank you. My name is Scott Larson, 189 Whitefond Drive. I did talk to your person dealing with the sidewalk person. My concern is that I do have a sidewalk in front of my complex of Deerwood condos, but my concern is that the bush going east, going down on the south side of Dunn Avenue, I think, because that's very dangerous. Because I've done it going on the side of the road. It's kind of very dangerous. So I'd like to see progress of having a sidewalk so it can connect with the other sidewalk on the south side of Dunn Avenue, going towards Clyde Morse. That's my thoughts on that. But also I want to tell you, as an advocate, I got an award also due with my advocacy last October with the National Federation of the Blind. Just thank you very much.
Thank you, Scott. Congratulations, man. You talked to Dave? Okay.
Okay. Our next speaker is John Navarra, and on deck is John Nicholson.
Okay. Good evening, John Navarro, 168 Springwood Drive. First, I'd like to say thank you for Commissioner May for making me aware of the Philippine Expo on Sunday, a week ago Sunday. And it was nice to see Commissioners Paris and Strickland at Juneteenth. I'm sorry I missed others. I know Mayor Henry was mentioned many, many times at that event. But for 3 hours, I was stuck under a tent trying to avoid the rain, and I was very, very wet for a while. Mayor, I came up with something earlier today. I didn't know you were going to bring up the issue of gun safety, but when we teachers, social studies teachers at Pine Ridge were meeting at a dinner at the end of the school year, one of our colleagues was a teacher here at a middle school in Daytona Beach, and he had a very unfortunate story of a student who wound up shooting himself in his own home with his parents' gun. And I'm sure you may already be having some kind of posters or flyers or something for gun safety. And I think it's something that everyone can agree on, all citizens, that gun safety is very, very important. And so I can't do graphics or anything myself, pictures and stuff like that, but one of our colleagues was a very good big gun enthusiast, and his idea was, which is the gun safety stuff, is keep your gun locked up, keep your gun unloaded, and keep your children safe. So the police department might work with that, with maybe some sort of training for parents, optional training, totally optional, and maybe the city being able to put posters in prominent places around city areas. And as citizens, that's pretty much all we could do to address that. And I think that we're the only people, the government is the only people in public that really has the responsibility to promote gun safety, as citizens ourselves, it's kind of hard to do that in the community. But the government is a good way to do that. And if we could save one life, which is very precious to us, you were a teacher yourself for many years, and if we could save one life in Daytona Beach, that would be a good way of doing it. And it ties into your older children with different issues, but this one is being aware of the safety issue and being able to have your guns, which is a Second Amendment right, of course, and being able to keep safe in your home. And awareness seems to maybe make a big difference, and it sure couldn't hurt, and it sure might save at least one life. So thank you, and it was good seeing you in Hungary for my birthday last meeting, that you were at least on the TV. So thank you for that.
Thank you, John.
That was very good.
Yeah.
I just wanted to take a moment, I forgot to mention that the festival we had, the Philippine Festival Association, they had over 800 people there. Lots of families, lots of food, entertainment nonstop. They had groups come in, which means that they were contributing to our tourism from Kissimmee, from Lake Mary, outside of our local region. They stayed overnight, but they had cultural dancing nonstop, and the community loves to dance. The DJ was fantastic, doing karaoke and dancing the whole afternoon. Very entertaining. It was $5 admission, and it was well worth it for a few hours. It was fantastic.
Where was it at?
Okay, our next speaker is John Nicholson, and on deck is Stacy Johnson.
Oh, that's great.
John Nicholson, 413 North Granby Avenue. A couple of FYIs. One, Mr. Brown made a comment about the property on 210 Peninsula as affordable housing. The state, the CRA has not mentioned it was affordable housing. It'll be market rate housing. Secondly, with regard to 10A, that was Sheila McKay years ago. And the reason why it was put in was because we had a Main Street board and a downtown CRA board and a DDA board, none of which lived in the city. They were all outside the city. So we felt that there at least should be citizens on our boards, and that's why it was changed. The idea of having business owners, again, I would say no to the business owners per se, because the Hilton is not, that man does not own it. Although I would like Hyatt Brown or Mario Hosseini or somebody of that nature on the economic board, the chances are slim and none. But the guy from Hard Rock would be fantastic. There are businesses, whoever manages Amazon would be a big player. So to hold it to business owners rather than managers, you may have to look at. Again, what happened with the city manager's walk? We took a walk through Midtown, downtown, Beachside. That should be coming forward, yes. About what we're
walking with y'all every year, did he?
We did that like a year and a half ago.
But he didn't tell you he was going to walk with you every year.
No. What came of it? He was supposed to.
Or what came of his result?
Be a presentation of what the staff was going to come back and meet and talk and
I
the
thought
whole
you were
nine
ready
yards.
for another walk.
Oh, no. One walk is enough. The Beach Street extension, we had voted on the extension of Beach Street, the look with its palm trees and whatnot all the way through. Hopefully, knock on wood, those apartments will be going up soon, and that would enhance the ability to sell that and the redevelopment of that area. Third, A1A, about 7 years ago, we were promised that the lights that went out during the hurricane would be replaced. 5 years ago, they started replacing them. They still haven't finished it. Apparently, the FDOT is having a problem keeping their word. So we have these old blue rocker arms interspersed, like there's 80 of them still up there. It looks terrible. Right around the new Daytona Grand. Okay. So at all our intersections, it really is ugly. I would like to we work on that. Also the maintenance. The tennis facility. Actually, the great location is the old Armory. If we took the south section of the old Armory, that's like 800 feet long, that property. We could put a hotel and a nice tennis center down there. It's open land. We have it. We own it. Well, actually,
You got something else planned for that, man.
Our next speaker is Stacy Johnson, and on deck is Larry Fitzgerald. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Hello. So as you stated, I am Stacy Johnson, and it's ironic that you just said it's been a lot of killings and shootings in the area. So, which is actually the case with violence, period. It's been very high in the area in the city of Daytona Beach per se, but I am a native of Daytona Beach, and I'm currently the director of Florida East Coast Super Science Track and Field Club, which is a nonprofit organization in the area. I'm coming before the city officials today with hopes of gaining sponsorship for our youth track and field team, which has been in the area since 1990, providing track and field as well as mentorship to the youth ages 5 to ages 18 years of age. This season, we've had 48 athletes that registered and competed with the program. Over the years, we've had the opportunity to take several kids to experience the Junior Olympics, which will be held in Des Moines, Iowa this year, and that's July 26th to August 5th. Funding has been very difficult, but we want to continue to be able to keep the tradition going for our program. And we have had the opportunity to help produce several athletes who went on to compete at the next level. We also had several athletes who have competed with the program since a young age, knee-high, who have now competed and medaled at the state level in high school, as well as D1 colleges, as well as some of them have became pro. Last year, we had an opportunity, along with the years prior, to have one of our athletes place top 8 in the nation, and the cost is about $1,500 per athlete. That's for lodging, transportation, food, as well as entry fees. For 12 athletes we have going this year and 3 coaches. So we are asking that we get some type of assistance from the community and from the city council as a whole. And like I said, this is a program that's not only just track and field, it's a mentorship. And we look forward to trying to bring more of our males to come out and assist, because we do need more positive role models. And if something like this can keep afloat, then maybe we will be able to stop some of the shootings, some of the killings, because then they have more time on their hands with these kids. So we just come to you today to try to see if we can seek sponsorship for our team. Like I said, we are a 501c3 nonprofit organization. These are some of the athletes who have medaled at the state competitions as well as at the Junior Olympics. And she's been running since she's been 5 years old, who is now 16, and she is a state medal holder from Spruce Creek, who just medaled at the 4A championship. So a lot of these kids actually start from here, and they do grow with the program. So this is one of our coaches as well as a parent. We did have practice today, so I had to step out of practice and let them still practice, because we are going to regionals starting tomorrow up until Sunday. Thank you.
I reached out to you.
Okay.
I reached out to you on social media a while back because I wanted to support what I see.
Correct.
And you will hear from us from my perspective.
Okay.
And I will probably reach out to you again to get some clarification, but I'm going to be supportive. I know what you do.
Okay, thank you.
I'm 100%.
I'll be willing to get some support to that as well.
Yeah, you can email it to me, and I'll have them give you one of my cards.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'm going to be supporting.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Our next speaker is Larry Fitzgerald, and on deck is Marjorie Johnson.
Larry Fitzgerald. Like,
I'm sorry?
We're switching around a little bit, just a little bit
Who's
between
we?
speakers.
Who's we? I'm sorry, sir.
My name is Roberto Di Nicolo.
Okay. So
Thank
you
you.
want to go
Yeah.
first before Mr.
So I live at 2020 South Peninsula Drive in Daytona Beach, and I would like to talk about tennis. Mr. Mayor, commissioners, thank you very much for listening to me. We met recently with Commissioner Paris, who listened to our plea for what we like to have in Daytona, and that is more tennis courts. So I recently retired after practicing medicine for 32 years in Daytona. Residents here would need more tennis courts on the east side of the town. City Island had red clay courts for many years, dating back to the 1930s. Red clay is the gold standard for tennis. It's all over the world. We would love to have, again, also a tennis facility with bathrooms to qualify for recreational and league play. League play is a major aspect of tennis in this area and has a large following. City Island was always a landmark facility for local league play. Residents would like a tennis facility that would be similar to what Daytona Beach Shores has done for their residents just south of us. The City Island tennis facility, unfortunately, has been unusable for almost 1 year. We would like to have a new tennis facility because we don't have anything on the east side of town or on beachside. Beachside residents are now forced to drive to the Florida Tennis Center, which is round trip 25 to 35 miles from some beachside locations. That's 100 plus miles a week if you think about people that play 3 times a week or maybe 4 times a week. Clay courts are very important because they are the only option for people over 40. And there are a lot of people that are over 40 that play tennis. I mean, most of the people that are here today are over 40. Red clay courts are going to be a great investment because they're unique to this area and they would be a far-reaching attraction. They would benefit the city and businesses. It's also a myth that tennis courts are very expensive. I did a research online, and clay courts start at $25,000 per court, whereas hard courts start at $60,000 per court. It is also a myth that hard courts don't require any maintenance, and the proof is in the city courts that are there right now on City Island, there is grass growing in between the cracks of the cement. We understand that Daytona Beach must host major events to generate the income that is required to provide funding for all endeavors. Beachside residents live with the extra traffic and overuse of our precious.
Thank you,
Your
sir. Your
time's
time
up.
has expired.
Sorry. Yeah. Okay.
Our next speaker is Marjorie Johnson, and on deck is Lisa DeNicola.
Key Street. I'm here tonight to talk about, I first want to thank Monica Paris and Ken Strickland for the outstanding job that they're doing representing their constituents. Okay, I said I would like to thank Monica Paris and Ken Strickland for the outstanding job that they're doing representing their constituents, and they're also representing me, since we have no access to our commissioner in Zone 6. And we have no access to you either, Mayor Hendry, and that's the problem, because you're here to do the people's work and you're getting paid to do that. I had a meeting with Ms. Reed many minutes ago. She didn't show, and she came to me. She said, "Oh, I'm sorry I didn't show up. Let's set up another meeting," and that was eight or 9 months ago, and it never happened. So I would just like to say that You are hired to do their jobs here, and you need to meet with your constituents. And there are a lot of problems over in Zone 6 that people was highly flooded out over there. And then I heard a statement about the Corps of Engineers from Ms. Cantu. I know about the Corps of Engineers, but the flooding problem has been going on for years, and it has not been fixed. I've been coming to these meetings for many years, and I do believe that you should address this flooding problem, because people, Libby Coleman came here and told you hadn't been accessible to her, and she lost everything in her house, and she never got back, and her house is still empty over there on Carter Circle. So I'd like to say to you tonight that you need to be about the people's business, and that is not happening. Ms. Reed appointed a lady out of Port Orange to that board there, Carolyn Sanders, to the Orange Avenue Recreation, and I got up and said no appointments for people in Port Orange, Florida. Appoint the people here at Daytona Beach. So I'd just like to say tonight that at 618 North Ridgewood Avenue at Primo J, there's a lot of drugs going on in that area. There's a barber shop there, and there's a lady sitting over here who has a business there, and the homeless people are sitting right in front of her door today, 2 of them, and I had to go over there and ask them to move. So you need to have some police protection taken to 618 North Ridgewood Avenue, because these homeless people have taken over that strip mall, and that's not fair to the people that's paying rent. So she wants police protection at Prima Day, 618 North Ridgewood. Do your jobs that we are paying you to do. Get the flooding problem fixed, please.
Okay, our next speaker is Lisa DeNicola, and on deck is Larry Fitzgerald.
Thank you, guys. That's a hard act to follow right there. But I just want to thank you for all the very important subjects that you guys have to deal with. But I'm somebody who grew up in Daytona, right across the bridge from here. I'd ride my bike over here, single mom, 5 kids. We did not have any money. We weren't paying a lot of taxes. And I think tennis is something that brings out the good in people. So I'm already getting off my speech, though. But, you know, basically, it's like my mom was working at the Bureau of Blind for 28 years. I was listening to Mr. Larson. Amazing. You know, it's all important. But I want to see downtown Daytona just include sports, healthy activities, everything along, but you know, not just spectator sports. I want to see things where people are active. They are, you know, playing their hearts out. They have a social scene that just makes kids grow up strong. And that's what I like to see here. And you know, we're taking a big hit here on racket sports. We live on the east side of Daytona, and people, poor people, not just rich people. And we're doing well because I was lucky. I married a doctor. I'm good. But it's like there's a lot of people out there that just they can't make it there. And there's mentors in our group. They love kids. They have grandparents live here. Their kids visit. They want to host their grandkids. It's a great place to go. And we're taking a big hit. Dickerson Center's gone. The racquetball, the hit wall is gone, even the practice wall. So, you know, I just want to see it go. Palm Coast is beating our tail off on what they're giving to their residents for this type of an access to recreation. And I know we have the beach and all that, but, you know, that's all I want to say. I want to get Daytona to be great. I want to see all y'all succeed with all your really important issues. You guys have it going on, but thank you. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you.
I'm curious, do we know if we have a practice wall at Dickerson or any of the?
No.
We don't.
They took that down.
Yeah.
They were using, first it was 4 courts, and then they were using 1/2 for storage.
Right.
Now all of that's been taken down for the remodel. The kids zone area is over there now. But, you know, listening to her passion, and then when she said the racket sports, I can see us developing something that has tennis, pickleball, and racquetball, because I used to play racquetball. But the pickleball is about my age speed.
Right.
Can't
I
really
mean,
run a
I like
court.
the idea of bringing the wall back because it's just a great way to play by yourself, and if you don't have a partner, just practice. It's great.
Ooh, I need more than a wall. I need kids to catch the ball.
I would just like to say something because I know we don't have anything right now, but all you play tennis, Pelican Bay, our clubhouse, we allow outside in to play pickleball, tennis. It's $10 plus there's a restaurant, liquor, everything there. And then also I just wanted to let you know a lot of I live in an older community and a lot of them go to Willow Run Park. I've never been there. It's by Horizon Elementary, and that's totally free, too. Oh, the hard courts? Okay. Well, I know a lot of my residents in Pelican Bay, that's where they go. Well, our courts are new in Pelican Bay, too, so you might want to try it out because it is open to the public.
Our next speaker is Larry Fitzgerald, and on deck is LaShonda Miles.
How you doing? Thank you for taking the time to listen to me. I'm an avid tennis player, and just wanted to bring to your attention, which you already know about, but I just wanted to emphasize it even more. I'm speaking in regards to the abandoned tennis facility at City Island. Whether it's put there or whether it's relocated, the following applies. You know, City Island has been a proving ground of local tennis players and has held many league matches and tournaments over its long and storied existence. The facility has always had good attendance, but many of the amenities now that are there, the facility is not relevant anymore. They've taken away the bathrooms and it's fallen into disuse. The facility has been one of the backbones of the local league play for GBTL, USTA, but with the removal of the bathrooms, no longer qualifies as an acceptable facility for any league play. This was once a thriving Beachside Community Tennis Center, but now Beachside residents are asked to drive, as Roberto mentioned, 30 miles round trip to other facilities like Florida Tennis Center and Daytona Beach Shores. This is a hardship, especially for older players trying to play 3-4 days a week. I would like to just formally ask the Commission to have a public forum and vote whether on this location or another location, the construction of a full-service community tennis center at City Island. I would ask the Commission to compare what the City of Daytona Beach Shores has provided free of charge for the residents as an example of what type of facility is desired. They have provided clay tennis courts, state-of-the-art. They have high-quality pickleball courts, which can be all incorporated if a new facility is built or rendered at the oldest site now. That could be, as Roberto mentioned, red clay courts, which is a unique attraction that Daytona, which is famous for its attractions, could add to what they already have. In closing, Daytona Beach is known and famous throughout the world for having state-of-the-art, be known to have a state-of-the-art tennis facility. It's highly valued. Right now, we watched the French Open over in Europe, and I feel red clay courts here could give you a value that you'd be surprised, and I think it would be a great reward. I understand, existing on this property, it would just be another iconic attraction that, we have Daytona Beach, you have the band shell, you have the racetrack, a red clay court tennis facility that offers league play throughout the world would be, I believe, a good venture to look into. And that's what we're looking to ask you, Tar, is to look into the situation. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is LaShonda Miles, and on deck is Ann Ruby.
Good evening. Please excuse my dress. I was just informed last minute about the meeting, so I decided to come. Pastor Evans told me to just come. And I was coming about the recent gun violence in the area, which on March the 29th, my son was murdered. And since January, it's been about 10 shootings that I know of. But since my son has been murdered, it's been 3 or 4 others. So it's a big concern to me, and I come to speak on behalf of me and some of the other mothers. We're afraid, very afraid, to move around in the city that we grew up in. Some of us grew up here. We have other children here. We have grandchildren here. We're afraid to let them go out. So we are trying to figure out what we can do to put a stop to some of this. On July the 1st, we want to have a march for gun violence awareness. Even though it might not help, what we want the help of the city and the police. Maybe they'll see that we have the backing of the city and the police officers, and maybe they might slow down. We want to make others aware of the violence, and see what we can do to stop them. I am working on a nonprofit organization to get therapy for some of the people, get some other resources to help kids. They don't have anything. Some kids don't have anything to do now, and that could be part of the reason they're getting in trouble. So I'm reaching out to some people to come in and, maybe teach them about boxing and things like that. But that's another issue. Well, the main reason I came was to get assistance with the march that we're trying to do for July the 1st. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit nervous. So that's why I came out to speak with you guys. Yes. Okay. Okay. Okay, I'm looking forward to it, and I appreciate it. Okay.
July 1st?
Yes, July the 1st. That's a Saturday morning.
But whatever it takes, and we'll figure a way to do more in March. But marching, I believe, is important. We're with you.
Yes.
We got to do some. You and I talk. I'm so thank the chief if he's still here. He has to talk to me.
Okay.
Because he mentioned to me earlier that he had heard from.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, I'll be looking forward to it. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Ann Ruby, and on deck is Linda Smiley.
Ann Ruby, 137 Park Avenue. I have to go back to this issue on the contract for the health facility. I think it's a great project. To give them the incentives, that's fine. But please understand the reporting. So if you have five, I'm not sure everyone does. If you have 5 individuals, 4 of them are CNAs and they make $18,000 a year. 1 is a nurse and working 20 hours a week. And 1 is a nurse making $80,000 working full time. The average is 3 FTEs with an average salary of $51,000. That looks pretty rosy. But the 5 people, if you look at the median is $18,000. That means there's 4 people who are working part-time, not making a living wage. And that's how these businesses have to run like that. But at least you guys could please ask for some transparency in the contract and how they report it. It's not enough to just chop off the 2 top salaries and then say the average is good and now it's rosy. Because if they're the CNAs, the housekeepers, they don't make living wage, not in a million years. And it doesn't mean we don't need the facility. It doesn't mean that we don't need to give them some tax incentives to come here. But please, in the contract, you need to know. You can't then go out and say, yeah, we brought these jobs. They're going to be 98 jobs at $65,000 a year. That's not accurate, and that's been done on Trader Joe's. It happens. And, part of what tears the fabric of our society apart is poverty. And if we're not going to look it in the face, then it doesn't matter what we do. So if you're creating jobs that are not looking, please look at median, not just average, and make sure that it doesn't mean you need to null and void the contract. If you want to can still contract with them to say that they're going to create that average and how they create it, identify how they're going to create it, but ask them also to honestly, clearly, transparently report how many people they employ at what levels of salary. So, thank you.
You all asked them to do that, you know, just as she said. So we have a specific understanding, and it is accurate to say, I still believe, obviously, Trader Joe's was good, but I do know of people who work at Trader Joe's. Of course, they got to work a second job, a lot of them. And that doesn't, you know, but it still was good, but it wasn't everything that we wanted it to be or thought or reported it to be. But come on, man. Sorry.
Our next speaker is Linda Smiley, and on deck is John Birch.
Oh, John here.
Linda Smiley, 357 Manhattan. To go back to Ann said, it's very frustrating to me when I sit, and I know that we have the jokes about the secret meetings and all that, but it's very frustrating when I sit in the back and I don't see people asking those questions about that, the transparency and this and that. The CNAs will make about $15 an hour, and as a retired professional, I know they do the brunt of the work. So we want them to be paid fairly so that they will do a good job, because yes, we do need that facility. I too sat with somebody last week in a medical situation in the ER, and they sat for over 24 hours because there was, quote, no beds. The truth of the matter is, when you hear that, what no beds means is there's no nurse to take care of that bed because there's such a shortage, okay? And so let's see, okay. So I want to know if there can be some sort of follow-up on the issues that come before you. For instance, last week somebody asked about the City Island wreck and where we stand with that. And it was mentioned that we would hear something about that, and we're still not hearing anything. So now we have somebody mentioned about the Peninsula Club. When will that be reopened? It's been closed for quite a while now. And so if we could just have some sort of feedback, if somebody comes up and has some sort of question, if maybe the next meeting or the meeting after, if somebody took a little note, or if somebody asked a particular commissioner if they would give the residents a little follow-up. I know Commissioner May does that sometimes, and that's appreciated. So if we could just do that. Let's see. Okay, so Ken brought up, we have an elephant in the room as far as the lack of health care here. We have a lack of specialists. We just have a lack. And I know you mentioned that Advent said they don't feel like there's, you know, but I don't know where they're getting that from, because there's a big lack here. So that's something that you need to consider when you're approving all these projects. Okay, the farmer's market. So I went down there, and there was like 4 vendors, and there was no place to sit, and it was hard to find a place to park. And that's at Magnolia. I was not a fan of it moving to Magnolia. It's too small of an area. There's not, you know, Ormond has theirs at the library. That's too small too. They moved it there because they used to have it at the casements. I went at the casements, but you had to park far away. And then if you bought a lot of stuff, unless you had a card, you couldn't carry that stuff to your car. So then you didn't buy anything. And the vendors were like, oh, they're not shopping. And, you know, it's a vicious cycle here, you know. So you have to think about all those things when you put them there. The Esplanade. So we had this thing at Christmas, the December to Remember, and I never heard anything.
Okay. Your time's up, but December to Remember.
Our final speaker tonight is John Birch, if he's out in the lobby.
John Birch. Mr. John Birch.
Going once.
John Birch is
going twice.
All right. John, we're going to have to conclude the meeting.
He was in the lobby.
I'm waiting on it. Is he
Do you want
coming?
her to go look for
Yeah, get him.
Okay.
Get him. We got to have John.
Weird meeting.
Nice outfit.
Mr. Mayor, I hope you had a great vacation.
Well, I wasn't on vacation, but I had a good time.
It was a vacation, and that you done nothing.
I ain't done nothing.
What else you did but had a vacation? John Burke.
Before you get started, last year you brought us a watermelon.
Yes, and guess what? You wasn't here, so I didn't go back to start. So I just Happy Father's Day. 1, 2, 3, 4. So this year y'all will just get a Happy Father's Day.
Oh.
You had a vacation. I was here when you was talking, all the way from where? Spain? Where you went?
Hungary.
Okay. Well, you had a great time then.
All right.
Hey, wait a minute. That's great. That's great. Now, I got to talk about some things. First of all, I want you to know I'm a Donald Trump supporter. I want y'all to get that clear. I think he's a great man, a great leader, okay? Now, we got to talk about history, because some of y'all done forgot about history. You know what? The KKK exists. The only people that don't know their identity is people of what? Color. You know, we've been changed from black to Negro to this to that. And the reason why I come up here with my tool belt is, it was a time when we cared about a working man. We cared about a guy that gets up, go to work, make an honest dollar, and we done forgot about that guy. What we support now is the what? The drug dealer. Everybody talk about the drug dealer, but everybody love the drug dealer, including the police. Hello? We support drugs. Our kids see a drug dealer, they think that they are, boom. They see a guy go to work. They see a guy clean up down there on MLK. They see a guy with a limo that he thinks about cutting, that the police and all says, oh, I'm legal. But guess what the police and all said? Code enforcement. Well, we're going to take his limo and crush it. And then we're going to rub it in and think that he's supposed to take it. Yeah, I took it. But it's not a good feeling. You know why it's not a good feeling? Because I'm always thinking, God gave me a brain.
Mr. Birch.
Mr. Birch.
Okay, but I want to let the police know, and I want to address mine, because
tell us, right?
I am tired of people study attacking me and think I'm no little wimp.
This way, Mr. Birch.
Yes, sir. I'm no little wimp. I'm an athlete. So when you attack me, I'm coming back. And it's a shame that you got to attack a man that loves his community. And I'm always doing that, and the kids say, well, why would he do that? My Mercedes studied doing something to do what? Stop a guy that works in his community. He's a pretty good old fella in his community. I don't raise no sand. Someone said, well, I took a Winnebago, took it apart. Guess what? I was going to pimp it out. Well, you should take the stuff to the dump, this and that. Always attacking the little man. And I'm the little man. All I'm saying is, when is it going to stop? I never give up, because my mama didn't never raise a quitter, and I'm never going to quit. So the best thing we can do is just communicate. Praise the Lord.
Amen.
Thank you, sir.
Good night, Daytona Beach.
is a lot that goes into serving the citizens of Daytona Beach. Staff members strive to deliver an experience that is worthy of being called world famous. Some work happens in the communities where we live, while a lot happens behind the scenes. Inside offices spread across the city are staff members working hard to ensure that Daytona Beach